are a mess. Let's just face it. I hope you take them all for a grain of salt. Is that a saying?
No, that could work too.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Danica and Shelby Read. I'm Danica.
I'm Shelby.
Guess who's back? Back again. What's been going on with you? What's new with you?
So one of the main reasons why you haven't seen me on the channel is because...
She got quarantined. Were you going to say that?
Oh, yeah, I completely forgot. So I got quarantined because I got some sort of virus, but it wasn't COVID, which is great.
So this was right around when we were doing our recent reads. But that's why we couldn't do them together, because she was actually in quarantine.
So I was like sick and I had a fever and other like actually kind of COVID-ish symptoms, but actually nothing with like shortness of breath or coughing, which was good. So I got the test back and I was negative. So I'm feeling completely like I almost don't even remember it.
And then as for me, all three of my kids started school, but they're distance learning. So my house has been a literal madhouse Monday through Friday, like trying to get these children educated. We're excited though, because today we are talking about Mexican Gothic.
Two Mexican goths talking about Mexican Gothic.
How we structure these videos is give you a brief summary of the book, give you our non-spoiler opinions, non-spoiler ratings, and then we'll deep dive into whatever.
And then it goes into severe chaos. So Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. We're following this main character who's a socialite. She's living her best life, trying to figure out what's going to happen next in her life. She wants to go to grad school. She's just partying and having a great time because she's rich. And then she has to leave a party what?
I just like that. Having a great time because she's rich.
So she has to leave a party early one day. Her dad calls her into his office and is like, I got a disturbing letter from your cousin, Catalina. And so she reads the letter and it appears Catalina is losing her mind or something disturbing is happening.
Her sanity is being shaken. And Catalina's parents passed away when she was young, so she was actually raised almost like a sister to our main character. So it's not just like, oh, a distant cousin is in dire need. It's like a sister, essentially, who helped raise... Are we going to just do the elephant in the room?
What?
Our main character's name. I thought her name was Naomi this whole time, but actually...
I thought I was pronouncing it Noemi, and the only reason I was pronouncing it that way is because I know someone who had a roommate in college or something.
Noemi. But I think it is Noemi. We'll pronounce it Noemi, but if it is Naomi...
She deeply cares, but also she kind of really doesn't want to go. So her dad's like, if you go, I'll let you go to grad school.
Yeah, he gives her an incentive because our book is also in the 1940s or 50s. It's kind of, back when women have a certain path they're expected to take, especially if you are a rich socialite. That is the ultimatum her dad gives her. Go help your cousin and I'll let you further your education. So she heads to the high place to help her cousin who, has been wed to this man that she wed very quickly. They don't really know this man. She goes to figure out what is going on, what's causing her cousin so much stress, so much mental anguish, and figure out, who really she married and the family surrounding this man. That's kind of the non-spoiler premise. Well,
it's not a spoiler that strange things start happening when she arrives there.
What's plaguing her cousin almost starts to plague her, and she's trying to figure out what's the secret behind this place. Let's go into what we rated this book. So I rated this about a 3.5. I rounded it to a 4. I thought it did better for me than a 3, which is this kind of middle of the road. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. I think I loved it more than that. So I rounded it to a solid 4. That's where I'm at right now.
When I first off the bat finished reading the book, I was like, this is a 1 star. I was like, for one, I would say that it has to be something that not only was it not enjoyable to read and not just boring, but it had to have also been poorly done, and I would have had to regret it.
That's what we agree on. One is bad.
Yeah. So I first was like, this is a 1, but now I'd say I don't regret reading it. So I'm probably going to give it a 1.5 and round it to a 2.
So you gave this a solid 2, which is still you strongly disliked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a 2, I'm a 4. That's a solid jump. I don't think we've ever had that much of a gap between us. So it'll be interesting to talk about why we feel the way we do.
And I'd really like to hear your thoughts, because I feel like there were some, I could tell the theme she was going for. I was kind of unsure of my opinion sometimes, because I was like, well, you can have an opinion, but sometimes if it's a badly formed opinion, all it takes is just learning more to kind of change it.
Which is kind of like when we were so against that Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Not even against it. We were just kind of like, ugh, and then we talked about it.
And it kind of, our opinion got formed differently.
Yeah, it helped us.
So I'm open to my opinion being formed.
I don't know, because at the end of this book, I felt like I could see why people would dislike this. So I don't know if I can really help you out really with that. Okay,
you go first.
Okay, so this is still non-spoiler. I just kind of want to give a little bit of what I felt this book said to me. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew, obviously, the title says Gothic in it. I didn't realize how much of that atmosphere it would give me. And I feel like the atmosphere was amazing. Did you at least like the atmosphere?
So the atmosphere is something that I was disappointed in, because I felt like she could have really pushed, like, I've actually never read a Gothic novel before, but looked it up afterwards, and I saw, like, the atmosphere it can bring. And I was like, man, without spoiling, you've got a mansion and it's creepy and there's creepy stuff happening. I'm like, I feel like she really could have pushed it. And for me, I felt like I was like, I would have loved for this to be my first introduction to a Gothic book. I would have loved for it to be like just super atmospheric.
I feel like I'm the opposite, where this is kind of like my first Gothic, so I wasn't hypercritical, and I was like, there's mist, there's gloom. I don't even think the sun came out once in this entire book. I was there. I wrote that it is slow, but if you know what you're getting into, it's more like slow burn thriller. I just feel like it relies a lot on the atmosphere, and if you hate the atmosphere like you did, wow, you're gonna be disappointed. Try not to look at reviews, and I really try not to, because I don't want to be swayed, but I read this like weeks ago. I think I did see someone talking about how it was just her wandering the castle, or wandering the house in pretty dresses.
That's
for
90%
of the book.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna just jump into the spoilers, because at this point, I don't think we really have a lot of non-spoiler things to add. You know how much I love Pan's Labyrinth. I love that fairy tale, and that was, I guess now looking back, that was almost like a Gothic fairy tale, right? What is the term Gothic? Like, what makes something a Gothic tale?
Gothic fiction. It's often known by its subgenre, Gothic horror. It's a genre or mode of literature that combines fiction and horror, death, and at times romance. Its origin, Castle of Otranto, A Christmas Carol, Frankenstein, where it's that very, like, Dracula, like, it's that fairy tale-ish kind of.
So I think Pan's Labyrinth would be considered like a Gothic fairy tale. This did give me like a Gothic fairy tale vibe, which going into it, I didn't realize how outlandish the reveal would be, which we'll get to that at the end. I didn't realize how outlandish. I was not expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but not that. And I did like how, and my favorite, like Frozen, you have someone who saves herself, or a woman, a girl who saves everyone, instead of like a hero, which actually Francis, I would say, would have been the hero, and he was this frail little sad. Overall, my vibe was that it definitely gave me a Pan's Labyrinth vibe, not done near as well. I love Pan's Labyrinth.
We can talk about Noemi in general, because she is like the main, she's not just the main character, but she's really the only one that we get to follow, so really this book is like just her. So not only did I really not like Noemi as a character, but I didn't really like what the author did with her, because I kind of understood by the end that, because sometimes people only want to get with like I guess just people of color in general, and because they think that it's like foreign, or like or they think it's gonna be
instead
like,
of liking the person,
it's like a novelty to them.
What is that, like, you're racially, it's like a racial bias. You think you're getting,
well, like, guys will get with like a Latina because he thinks that she's gonna be like sassy and curvy and like,
and it's like, you're not wrong with me. You're not wrong, but that's wrong to assume.
Yeah, so I understand.
We're all different.
She's supposed to be like anti that. Like, she's supposed to be her own person, and like she's not gonna let these guys like have a handle on her. Main guy, who's her cousin's husband,
Virgil.
Like, Virgil. She's supposed to show how gross it is, I think. Like, Virgil is supposed to be like kind of gross to us because he's doing that to her, and the old man of the book is like gross doing it. That's what I think is supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
But I don't think Noemi did it.
Okay, can I say, have you seen the movie Get Out? You have, right?
Yeah, I watched it a long time ago.
This, from page, because I wrote down page 29, because this is where Howard Doyle, the first time he meets her, he's like, you're darker than your cousin. And she's like, what? Like, because she's like, calling out how weird this is, and immediately I was thinking of Get Out. I was like, is this like a Mexican Get Out?
He was kind of like the personification of everything that Silvia Moreno-Garcia is against, or like I think the message she's trying to get across. Noemi even says, that's a weird compliment, you know, like he's like, you should take it as a compliment. She's like, well, that's a weird compliment.
Well, in this, you're using they're talking about eugenics, which is like you want to use someone's DNA, but I guess if you want to be a little bit more lighthearted or lighten it a bit, you would say, oh, you want to use my race as some sort of weird accessory instead of seeing me as a person, and I'm not, which I see like Howard Doyle is like, she's taking it so far because they want the DNA, because they want to survive the mushroom or whatever, you know.
She makes it so obvious too, because like his books are literally like eugenics books. Yeah. I think she like packed punches of her message like throughout the book. She like punched it in, and I think she could have been a lot more subtle like all the way through.
Okay.
Because then that would have really carried it home. What bothers me about Noemi is that I see what the author wanted her to be, but I feel like she's not exactly that. Her cousin has not had appropriate care this entire time. Like, no one really cares about her, and Noemi sees that from the jump. But she's so interested in the castle and like what's going on that she like starts exploring, and like she goes down to the city, and it's like she's doing everything but like, in my opinion, getting legitimate care for her cousin. And Noemi's supposed to be smart. She's supposed to be someone who values education. And I feel like throughout the entire book, I feel like I can't pick out a point in the book where she figured out what was going on, ever.
You're saying things that I kind of grazed over. I just felt like if I'm looking at this more like a fairy tale, I gave it a lot of leeway to where at the end, I have wrote a couple of things down where I literally was like, sis, what? Because when they find out about the incest, which, when Virgil's talking about his first wife, or I don't know what, but I think it might be his first wife, and she had 4 miscarriages. Already I was like, oh, this is inbreeding. They're not meshing, because, well, now that we find out they've been inbreeding for a long time, When at the end she was like, shocked about the inbreeding, shocked about a lot of different things. And like you said, you're like, wait, aren't you supposed to be smart? I like that she was educated and that her father came from a dye company. So she was like very knowledgeable in like arsenic. And it seemed like she was really going to figure things out fast. And then you're right, it really took until the very, very end when she was like, oh, it's these mushrooms. And it's like, really? They've been around to this.
It was just so funny because like, I thought that the mushrooms or the mold, I thought that was going to be the twist. Which obviously it couldn't be, because it was so obvious from the beginning. Like, literally she. But it
wouldn't. And I wrote down about believability. So I want you to talk about how crazy it is, and then what is too much. Like, what's too unbelievable that it ruins it for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to bring that up too, which I know we're jumping around, but this is one of those cases where like this to me was not believable, the way that it was written. But I was thinking, well, it is a fairy tale, but like you can't always use it as an excuse, because in Lord of the Rings, I 100% believe everything that happened.
I mean, is that not based on true events?
In Harry Potter,
don't get me started with Harry.
You believe those things. You're like, yes,
this
an elf would do that.
One thing, which I always appreciate when the book is not too long, it is a shorter book, 300 pages. A lot of it did drag of her just walking around the grounds, walking around the house, going into town. It seemed to take a long time.
And I love stuff like that. If this was a pretty like book that was written really beautifully and like it was super gorgeous the way she was talking about what Noemi was seeing, I would have loved 200 pages of that.
I'm so torn because I totally see what you're saying. And I'm like thinking to myself, why didn't it bother me more? Because I get bored way more easier than you.
You probably did like the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's just preference, I guess. So that's Naomi.
Yeah, what else could be said about her?
You hated her. I thought she was written well. To me, there were moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, sis, you're being different. Like, it was almost like her character shifted to me, because I was like, wait, The Naomi in the beginning is a strong woman who's trying to fight through these weird boxes that women are still trapped in because it's like the 1940s or whatever, the mid 1900s. And I'm like, she's fighting it. She wants her education. She's strong. And even when she gets to the house, she's like speaking up. You think because you're a man, I'm not going to like talk back to you? You think, you know, I'm from the city. Like we do things different there. And then you get to the end where it's like, yeah, there are moments where she's a little slow on the like figuring of things out. So
I completely agree. I think Naomi at the beginning, like how she was set up and presented to us, I was like, this girl's gonna be awesome.
She like totally broke
and doing. It's almost like Naomi couldn't fill the shoes that Silvia had put her in. I feel like she was in a video game. Like she was just getting drug around the plot. Even in her dreams, she didn't have control.
And see, I will give her leeway because once the mushrooms started taking root in her, then you get this psychological aspect where she's falling apart psychologically, because that's when the psychological games that broke Catalina are starting to like break her down. And at that point it's like, oh, okay, I can see why now you should kind of be you're being unwound, so now you're slower because your brain's not working right. But yeah, still it did kind of feel like almost two characters. Now Catalina, I guess there's not much to say about her. I loved her. I think she was a sweet soul.
Catalina is she is the best female character, because even in the midst of like them essentially, her like continual drugging essentially, she fights it to the best of her ability to try to get out of her own brain, to like ask for help. Howard
Doyle, he's a piece of shit. Let's not talk about him. Yeah, Virgil, he's right under him. Francis was Virgil's what? Cousin?
I still don't know what was going on. I thought that
there was a lot of names. Once the inbreeding came in, I couldn't tell who was the real, who was the father, who was the sister, who was the brother, who was the cousin. Where am I? What's happening? So Virgil, yeah, he was bad. He wasn't raping her really, or molesting her really.
No,
but it was in the dream world.
Okay, so we figure out later, he essentially controlling the dream. I wish that Naomi had shut him down from the beginning and let him know, like, I'm not on your side, I'm on Catalina's side. And she actually did explicitly say that.
But Virgil was gaslighting her, like, a lot of the book. She would come at him with like, your wife, look at her, I need to help her. And he'd be like, you don't think I love her? You don't think I'm helping her? This doctor comes. So he was gaslighting the crap out of her. Yeah. And like, I could see where a lot of the times he would shut her down to where she'd be like, well, but also that's another part of like, aren't you a strong character? You know
like I guess it would
have been. See through this? But he was a good gaslighter.
I just wanted a little more punch and fight from her. If this were going to be a satisfying Mexican character for me to like relate to and look up to and be like, this is awesome. I wish she had more punch and fight throughout the book.
You know, you want to write this in a way where the main character is a good representation of a woman. You want someone to be like, she's smart, she's capable, and she helped herself. Which at the end she did get everyone out, and she was smart. But I think there was a little bit of almost like maybe she didn't know how exactly she wanted.
Virgil got everybody out.
Well, how? No, I'm asking literally because I can't remember.
I don't remember either. Legitimately, that was such a blur. But I feel like
he opened the catacombs at the front. Remember, he came into the front. Which that moment where I was like, oh, that is so annoyingly convenient, because they came in through a back door, and thank gosh Virgil came in through the front, because they would have been locked in, they would have died. But Virgil opened up and they were able to be free. Francis's character, he was adorable. He was a victim of his situation completely. I blame Francis for nothing. If anything, he'd been one, he's being controlled internally, but two, you're brainwashed.
And
they say
totally
you can never leave. I mean, that poor guy.
Like, they tore him down to where he felt completely powerless.
Francis was the strong female character I related to in this book. I loved him. I really loved him. Francine, loved her. Couldn't get enough. I didn't even write down Francis's mother's name. I don't even want to talk about her because she got on my nerves.
She was like the woman who had gotten sucked into it and was kind of like, I wish I knew her purpose, you know?
What was her purpose?
She has to be something, you know, because Sylvia had a message in this book. But what was it?
Love Marta. Marta is the healer that was in the town, but she was not the doctor. She was a healer. And I love reading about things in our culture, like susto, the evil eye, ojo. I do this even to this day. Like, if I see a little baby, like, you have to touch them. Like, say Shelby's hair looks really good and I don't touch it, like, I'll give her ojo, like, which means like I am jealous of something on her, so like she'll get sick or something will happen to her hair. Yeah. When we were little, our grandma, I can't tell you how many times my mom would bring me or Shelby over. I don't know about my little brother, but me especially, when I was older, I would get like probably just a common cold or have the flu, but my mom would take me to my grandma's. She would lay me on her bed and then she would perform the ritual to cure you from ojo, which involved rubbing an egg around you. Every freaking time I would have ojo because the egg would be like rotten and my grandma would be like, look at this. I cured you.
Yeah, the egg like turns into an eye and like the palm leaves move or something, which is like thinking back.
Well, susto is with the palm leaves, which I think she did or she talked about. Susto is like you rub palm leaves, I think. I just thought that was a really cool inside thing, which I'm sure people are reading it and like, what? This must be, no, it like really happens. I think my oldest son, my grandma, still able to do it. And I think my oldest son, who's 10, had the egg rubbed on him at least once. He did. My grandma would be like, he has the ojo already.
He probably did. He was so cute.
Yeah, he probably did. Yeah. I've heard this before, but I love the little Mad as a Hatter.
Oh, okay. That was probably my favorite part of the book. Cool is that figuring that out.
I've heard that before. And because the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, it was based off of people who make hats, but it said people said hatters were prone to going crazy, but it was the materials they worked with. So Mad as a Hatter, but when they were making them, they inhaled mercury vapors. So you mixed mercury into paints to control mildew, but under the right conditions, the compounds give off sufficient mercury vapor to make people sick. It's just like a cool little thing they were talking about. And like I said, Noemi, the dyes and the arsenic, she was kind of knowledgeable about that different type of poisons and stuff. And just hearing that Mad as a Hatter little tidbit was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I did like that. I just want to talk about something for a second. One of my least favorite things, I don't know if it's like a writing device or like a literary device that I don't know about. Maybe it's actually good. I hate it when we're all the way through the book and then we get to a point where one character explains the entire plot of the book to us.
Oh my god, which is exactly what happened. We got 10 pages of the...
We are 200 pages in. And on page 205, I believe, the mushrooms totally hit and Noemi has her biggest trip yet. She like, in her dream, she envisions like old cultish rituals. This is when all of the freakiness of the book is packed into like 10 pages.
Yeah.
And at that point, something that could have been creepy and disturbing, which I have been
felt
looking
more
for.
like a lecture in a classroom.
I have wanted something so creepy that I get shaken to the core. Like, that's what I've been looking for in a book.
I could have told you this book was not going to be super creepy. I could have told you that.
But this scene could have did that. The ritual, the cult, like, didn't they even, like, eat a...
Yeah, they ate a baby.
Yeah, like, that could have been creepy, but you know what it was as I was reading it? Just outlandish. Just wacky.
Even to me, where I'm like, and this is where I'm having my realization that this is cuckoo. Like, this is way crazy.
After reading it back to es loco.
Muy loco. I was invested. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I really liked it. And then I will say, getting to that part, I was thinking, whoa, it should have just been the mushrooms. Like, I know you say, oh, how the mushrooms should have like been seeped into like some well and they were drinking from the well and it was like a well of immortality and maybe it poisons you slowly. I kind of do get it, because how else would she have done the indigenous part? I think that whole part was because they're trying to show you like he, like a lot of white explorers before him, have come to a region, decimated the people, took their resources, took what they viewed as holy and uncorruptible because they've been using it in their religion, and he takes it as his own, ruins everything. I got her story, but yeah, it was already crazy. And then have this whole body jumping. Whoa, where
Yeah.
did that come from? She did have a great message. The writing wasn't even bad, but the delivery was like lacking.
I do want to say, especially talking through this with Donica, again, I feel like it's not worthy of 1 star. I think it's more. I see the themes. I see what she was trying to do. It wasn't terrible. And maybe to someone out there, for some reason, they like read this book and they're like, wow. And then they just think about like colonialism and what is it called?
Yeah,
eugenics.
I mean, like, at least it just opens their eyes.
Yeah, like,
like
maybe
this is wrong.
Yeah. So
But I don't. I'm
no one
so-
really needs. I think everybody knows it.
Yeah, I'm sorry if this enlightened you. I think the majority of people, if you read this and you were enlightened to the problems of marrying for DNA, it didn't enlighten.
It enlightened me. I think that this is kind of a hot buzz book right now. So that's cool.
I think I saw a majority of people like this book on like Goodreads. I mean, it has like I think a 4.0.
I need to see what people think. Yeah, I'd love to know what y'all think if y'all read this book. I would like to know your y'all's opinions though.
Yeah.
Like if y'all saw things differently, I'd love to
Yeah,
know.
because at the end of the day, we're just 2 amateur book lovers, and the most that we can do is share with you our thoughts, which you can see. We're like kind of conflicted. Shelby didn't really like it. I don't think she's conflicted with that. I feel like I'm conflicted because I did enjoy it, but now like I see Shelby's issues with it. As a reader, I can appreciate that someone has a different opinion than me. I guess it shouldn't affect my opinion. So I'm sticking with my 3.5 4 because I did enjoy it.
I'm gonna bump this up to just a solid 2.
We all read books and we all take different things from them. And I probably read this at a time where I just needed a nice little fast, kind of, and like I said, like the atmosphere did it for me. It was fine. I just probably read it at a time where that was perfect for me. And Shelby was like, I just had her. I mean, how many times does it happen? You get a book that you have high expectations for, and then unfortunately it just doesn't live up to it.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what this book did do? And I can give it credit. I really want to go read some of those classic Gothic novels. Maybe that's what I'm looking for because I've been searching for something in a book.
Well, Spooktober is coming up, so we're going to be reading only spooky books in October. And actually, I'm going to start reading halfway through September because I have a huge 900-page book I'm going to be showing y'all. So that's going to be it, y'all, for this book talk. I hope it's at least slightly cohesive and it comes together. But if it's not, well, that's our aesthetic anyway. So I do want to say before we let y'all go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But something I'm going to be saying over the next couple of videos is we want to do like a video for Halloween. We want to release a video of us reading scary stories. We're gonna go to like our family and kind of get their scary stories. But if y'all have any kind of spooky story, what's the spookiest thing that's happened to you? It could be anything paranormal. It could be alien, paranormal. Have you seen a UFO? Have you seen a ghost? Please feel free to DM us or write them in the comments and we will share them on October 31st. You had a really, can you just tell them your really awesome
the one
pun?
quote. So I'm kind of like sarcastically talking about what's going on. Our dental accomplice Francis proceeds to tell Noemi that the mold in the house actually is tied into the family member's blood and allows them to live multiple lives with the power of the mold. Even better, the power of the mold connects the family members forever. The longer you breathe in the mold, the better you can communicate to family members of the past. Now, Noemi is chosen as the next woman to procreate and continue the never-ending cycle of mold people. Fun guys, if you will. Oh, wait, I found one more thing I want to touch on. Noemi exhibits almost no sign of shock and believes this immediately.
Thank you so much for watching. Please leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below because we would appreciate that. We really want to know what you guys think. Some of our videos that have the most engagement are The Silent Patient and Where the Crawdads Sing, which we filmed those months ago. And to this day, we're getting some, like, I'll have people comment and they have like these amazing points that are still blowing my mind. Those are probably, when we do videos at the end of the year, like top books we've read this year, I feel like those two are right at the top. I mean, they were so good. So please, no matter when we film this or when you see this, leave your thoughts and opinions. We have our little, thoughts and some of y'all really go deep and just add, and it's great. Thank you so much for watching, and until our next video, y'all take care. Bye!